Well, nobody there yet. We'll just wait on like everybody else does. We'll just wait on some people to join us because the conversation tonight's going to be an interesting one. It is my time, my time, my time. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I had an interesting thought on my mind tonight as I was perusing the television stations, and we live in a time where young folks today are doing crimes that grown people would not do. And I'm talking about real young. I'm talking about below 15 years old. And so the question on my mind tonight, when young people do these things, is it more of our problem? Is it our fault as a society that they do these things and not necessarily theirs? I mean, after all, we bring in the TVs to the home, we bring in HBO, we bring in the music, we allow them to watch things that our mother and fathers would have smacked us upside the head if they'd have found out that we were looking at such junk. It was hard enough looking at Superman and the Lone Ranger and all those things, and especially looking at Tarzan. Now, Tarzan, okay, Tarzan. The more I look at it, the more I get. It becomes comedic. I mean, we got a guy going from tree to tree in a diaper, telling the jungle what to do. Now that was that was a tough one right there. But are we responsible for the way our kids act? The things that they do? I'm going to tell you that even though I'm a proponent of parents being responsible for their kids, uh, but not without the influence of society. Um, it is a remarkable thing when we live in a time such as this, when when we see 9 and 10-year-old kids on TV on trial for their lives when they just life just began for them. And so are we as a society promoting or putting our kids in harm's way by not giving them the guidance that they actually should have? I was looking at something tonight. A 9-year-old took a 8-year-old out in the woods and killed him. It has happened in Montgomery, and it has often happened too many places in this country where young kids. I'm not talking about 16, 17, 18. I'm talking about kids who are absolutely young, um, are doing things that are unimaginable back in the old days. So here's the question of tonight. Again, are we as a society responsible for the things that some of our young people do? Now, I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to be honest. I want you to look in the mirror and say that when you hear about a 6-year-old or 1 6-year-old took a gun to school, was it in Massachusetts a year or so ago, 2 years ago, shot his teacher. She's blessed to be alive today. We see places where we put handcuffs on kindergartners because kindergartners have gotten out of they become discombobulated. So again, I just want to have a short conversation about this afternoon. Are we as a society, by the things we allow to happen in our classrooms, in our homes, in our schools, are we responsible in part for what young people do? I say absolutely yes. And I think that that goes toward the schools, that goes towards parents, that goes towards all kinds of people. But will we ever be honest in this country that we have become, good morning there, Ranger Hellickson. We go too far in this country by giving privileges to kids. And when the things that used to be privileges now seem to be, at least they think, are rights now. So I'm just wondering, are we responsible for what our kids do? I mean, seriously, are we? Are we responsible for that? I think we are, somewhat. If you want to chime in on this, please do. We got a phone here, and that number is 334-521-2963. I mean, I really like we talk about a lot of things. We talk about a lot of things in our conversations, but rarely do we have this conversation. I mean, it's easy to blame the kids. It is. It's easy to blame the kids, when they do things. But I really believe that we need to start blaming ourselves also. So let me hear what you got to say about that tonight, because our court systems are getting full. We getting almost many young kids in jail today as we are older people. Not quite as many, but it's getting there. So what say you? Is society more to blame for the children going to jail and doing heinous things than the kids are? I'm going to say I think I think they are. I think we're more responsible. Again, we allow the TVs, we allow the televisions in our homes, we allow the programming in our homes, we allow HBO, Cinemax, and all the other things. We allow these things, and then when these kids are influenced by these things, well, we sit around and say, what happened? Well, what happened is, if you look at it now, my son's mama, she was hard on my boy. And I actually think she was harder than I was, but she knew what she was doing, to tell you the truth. I guess I sort of wanted him to experience things, but not too many things, but to experience some things. But I think it's gotten out of control. It's gotten out of control. So are we, and parents, you out there, some of y'all are parents who listen, grandparents, whatever the case may be. And I know, and the problem is, being a parent is that when you become a grandparent, you see the way that they're raising their kids, which is the same way you read. I got any comments? Do I have any? I mean, I didn't know if I had any comments over there. But anyway, it is a question that we need to ask ourselves. Let's see. How is it vertical? Because I said it vertical. I said it vertical because I like vertical better. But anyway, that is the question that we have to ask ourselves. Are we being, is it their fault, or is it parents' fault that our kids doing so many dumb things? It's got to be us. Really, it's got to be us. Now, I'm just lucky that my kid don't want to do a whole lot of things. No children at a young age. He's finishing up school this year, doing great. But I'm going to tell you, part of that greatness comes from his mom. Because me, I was being an Army dog. I was willing to let him go there and do it. No, I'm glad. I'm glad. That's why you need two parents. See, that's why you need. Yes, on StreamYard. That's why you need two parents. Because one, just in case one gets out of whack, the other one is there to help out. Okay. But again, somebody call me. Do you think we're responsible for this? I think we are. Again, not how does a 9-year-old, how does a 6-year-old carry a gun to school and shoot his teacher? Really? How does that happen? How does a 12 and 13-year-old contrive a a plan to eradicate their parents? How's that happening in today? We got more Bibles around and more churches around in America than we've ever had. And it seems like we certainly are losing control. So what's the deal? Are we out of are we letting are we I mean we can say throw them up and take the key and throw it away and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, we do that to sort of get the responsibility of what we have done or have not done. So I'm just asking the question tonight. Numbers are 334-521-2963. If you want to just call, I'm just sitting here thinking, about the future and what it's going to look like. Whatever. If we don't hold our children in line and punish our children when they do wrong, then society will, and they will. So your children are going to be introduced to discipline one way or the other. They're either going to be killed early, die early, or go to jail. But the final discipline is losing their life. That's where they pay. I'm just saying, and it's an amazing thing to me that we fought to sit at sandwich counters. We fought wars to be free and to be able to raise our kids wherever we want to, and we seem to be surrendering it. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to say this. I believe that the Democratic Party is more responsible for this crap than any other group or organization in this country. They are responsible. When you think you can actually turn your boy into a girl, no wonder he's confused. Really, no wonder he's confused. Okay, so I'm just saying, or you think you can turn your girl into a boy when you tell him, oh, a boy can go in the girl's bathroom if he thinks he's a girl. And I'm just going to put that on the Democratic Party, the philosophy of the Democratic Party. Not to say that there aren't some Republicans who probably think the same way, but they don't go around promoting it. So the question on the day is, I'd like to hear somebody's thoughts on this. 334-521-2963. Are we responsible for the situation that some of our kids find themselves into right now? Because they are the ones who ultimately are going to pay the price. They're going to pay the price. Why would you advise for someone who didn't want you? Is that logic and reason? Mr. Got to get it going on. Children perfect? My children not perfect. Oh, no. No. Although I will say that none of them have been to jail, or none of them have done anything dastardly. They may, but it won't be because they didn't know the right thing to do. Nobody's kids are perfect. The only kids that are perfect, there's only been one child ever born that was perfect. And his last name wasn't Elkins. It was Jesus the Christ. So let's not say that. We're talking about something, because see, it's not my kid I'm worried about. Oh, no. It's not my child I'm worried about. I'm worried about the children coming up. Okay? What do that two have to do with each other? The 6-year-old that you mentioned and transgender rights. Because when you allow permissive behavior, when you confuse kids about who in the hell they are, you don't know what they're going to do. That's what. I'm not saying one or the other. We got people, that guy that was running for office, with the guy who was running for office with the former presidential candidate, Harris. He wanted to have the ability to give your child transgender care. They called it something else without their parents even knowing. Now think about that for a second. You are going to take the responsibility and the privilege of the parents from deciding what is best for their child from the governor's office. Right. So, and again, and put it to you this way. If I have a man that doesn't know that he's really a man and he cannot have children, why do I want to put him in charge of anybody else's kids? Why would I want him teaching my child? Because again, my three friends are common sense, logic, and reason. Is it reasonable? Think about this for a second. Is it reasonable for a man to think he can get pregnant? I'm waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting. You know, I'm waiting for the answer. Is it logical? But last week on television, there was I think it was on CNN or Fox News, one of them. They had a story, and next time I start to do this, I'm gonna bring up the clips of a man who told his child he could get pregnant. Well, what they didn't tell the child was his father is actually a woman that looks like a man because she cut everything off and cut her thingamajiggers off. You know what a thingamajigger is, right? A thingamajigger is what we all know what it is, but we won't say it. So she cut off her thingamajiggers, and now she looks like a man. Okay, that don't make her a man. Okay, you don't become a man because you look like one. You come a one by chromosomes, okay, and DNA and testosterone and all that other good stuff. So the question of the night is, and I'm not gonna belabor this, I just wonder. I watched a kid get sentenced today, and I could not help but think that we are responsible for that. All of us who allow the things that come on our televisions, the things that and the movie industry. I love movies, but I'm still watching 1967 Mission Impossible. So but we are responsible for these things, but we don't take much responsibility for them. But we are. What about him? What him? You got to call me, brother. Give me that word's got about 13 letters in it. And I'm not talking about every once in a while you'll have something called hermaphrodite, and that's not their fault. That's not their fault. That's one of those things. But anyway, the question is, and I just thought I'd come on today, and ask the question: who is responsible for where we find? Don't we hold some responsibility for what our kids become at a young age? Don't we? Okay. So we should do that. Shelley, Miss Shelley Collison, appreciate you tuning in. So what if your child identifies as a transgender once they leave your home? That's on them. That's on them. But this ain't really got anything to do with transgender. I'm just saying anybody who thinks there's something that they're not has a mental issue. And that mental issue may manifest itself in all types of ways, Shelley. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But once you hit 18, in my mind, you can be whatever you want to be. Okay. I don't care. What you think you are is up to you. But what you actually are is up to God and biology. But again, that's what you want to be, hermaphrodite. Okay, I got it. Yeah. What people want to be is up to them. But do we really believe we won't let a man drink a beer, go in the store and buy a beer until he's 19, 21 years old around here? But we actually believe that a child has the right and the mental capacity to determine his own sex or his own gender? No, he doesn't. If that's going to be the case, then he has enough sense to have a beer, a car, sign a contract, or whatever it is hell else he wants to do. Okay, I'm just saying logic and reason. Okay, that's what I'm looking for here. Do we, as a society, have a responsibility in some of the things our kids get involved in? Do we? I say yes. Is there anybody out there can prove that I'm wrong? Okay, I say yes, we do. We bring it in. We bring the stuff into the house. Okay, we bring the stuff into the house. We allow the TVs. We allow the movies to come in the house, and Hollywood is a powerful tool, and music too. Two of the most powerful tools on this universe is music and videos. It is. It's powerful. Affect me too. I mean, I can't even watch the five heartbeats without crying. And the Ten Commandments, every time I watch the Ten Commandments, I want to run to church. So movies and music, and those are the two things that are changing the culture of America. And not in such a good way. Although there are a bunch of good kids out there too, don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, they do not get the praise. So again, nobody's answered the question here though, okay? Do we as a society have some responsibility to what these kids are doing today? We can't just blame them because they're not born with the ability to know what a gun is. They're not born with the ability to know how to strangle people. So we are having an effect on our kids that we don't know. I mean, anyway. I was thinking about that. I saw a child get sentenced to life in prison today, 9 years old. At 9 years old, he doesn't know anything. So how did that child get so messed up in the head that he went out and killed somebody? The Menendez brothers in California, I think they were like 15, 16, 17 back in the day. I think they knew better, but I think they think about letting them out of prison now. And it wasn't all their fault. I mean, when we watch TV, the good movies and all that stuff, the good stuff is about how you gonna take care of them. You gonna hurt them. Okay. Anyway, it is just a thing I was thinking about, and I think if we look at it that way, and I'm not saying put all parents in jail if your kids become crazy and they do things. I got you. I learned something else today. That there are much food, there's food in America right now that the Canadians and other countries will not take from us because of the drugs we are putting in the food, the hormone therapy that we are putting in chicken and things of that nature. Listen, I think all of this plays a factor, but even then, we're responsible for what our kids eat. Okay? So are we really, when we go in that courtroom and we see a young child in there, are we willing to say this is partly our fault? Okay, this is partly our fault. I mean, it is what it is. But anyway, I realize it's a tough subject, and we all think our kids are perfect. I don't. My kids are not perfect, but I love them anyway. But they're not perfect. But however, Charles, I didn't say my kids were perfect. Okay. As a matter of fact, they said something the other day about Fruit Loops today. I heard this morning about Fruit Loops. Now, I'm glad they didn't say nothing about Frosted Flakes because I love me some Frosted Flakes. But Fruit Loops and the coloring things that they do, Oh, let me tell you something about Fruit Loops. Did you guys know that every color in the Fruit Loops cereal is the same flavor? Yeah, every color is the same flavor. The flavor doesn't change. See, I used to eat the red ones thinking that was like strawberry, and kind of find out a couple weeks ago, a couple years ago, that they're all the same flavor. Okay, and again, who gives? And Shelley, let me ask you this question: since when do we let our children come up with their own identification? Seriously, since when do we let our children determine what they are? Now, once they leave home, hey, hey, my brother, bless his soul, he's gone. And I told him when I was headed to Honolulu in the Army, back this 87, 88, something like that. And I stopped by his place of work. And I told him his sin's no worse than mine. I did some crappy things too. I wasn't always perfect. Oh, well, excuse me. I've never been perfect. I don't doubt. But when you decide not to do the rotten things that you've done, I think that's what we call a metamorphosis. And so it is not that I blame. It's not that this whole sexual revolution thing, this whole transgender thing, it's no worse than anything else. But we have to call it what we see it as, and that is it's just not. It's not a good thing. Again, it's not you. If you take anything out of the human body and try to turn it into something God didn't want it to be, we are going to have a tough time. Okay, we're going to have a tough time on that. We're just going to have a tough time. But anyway, I thought it was something to think about. Because we can't blame our kids for doing crazy things if we've never sheltered them from the crazy things that are going on. You know what I'm saying? If we, we just, is it their fault? And that was the whole question. Is the things that our young folks are getting involved in today, is it their fault, or is it a societal problem that we as a society don't want to deal with? Well, my thoughts on the matter is, what's yours? Well, anyway, I was just sitting here thinking about that. So you can call me the midnight counselor. Okay, that's what you can call me. Yeah. Till I'm not on at midnight. Well, I think that was it. I thought I'd share that with you guys. And listen, what I am finding out since I've been in this podcast thing here, there's so many things to talk about. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be done in a few minutes. Here's another issue. I was in the barbershop the other day, and most of the guys in there were in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And they were telling me that they started with their sexual experimentation when they were 12. And so the subject came up in the barbershop, and we're gonna do a podcast in there when they do. The subject came up that, well, you should teach them about it at 12. Really? So how many men out there think that you should introduce your child to a woman for the purposes of having the intercourse thing? How many of you think that at 12 years old is old enough, or 13 years old is old enough to get involved in that? Well, and I had some arguments with those guys too. I'll bring them on one day, and we can have this conversation in front of everybody, because some of the things they said were absolutely nonsensical. They said, okay. I said, well, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it will come to no good end, because he will at some point be young, have a baby, and here you are 14, 15 years old with a child, can't take care of. But anyway, we're going to have that conversation too. Bring them around here one of these days, and we'll have that conversation. But anyway, I just thought I would ask the question this afternoon. Do we take as a society, when a young child ends up in jail, is it our fault? I'm going to vote on that, and my vote would be yes, it is our fault. So the question is, how do we as a society? It is the parent's fault. But if the parent does all they can in their home, and the minute the child walks out the door, he sees a plethora of things that we all know are wrong, but nobody's calling it wrong in society. So he's going to get confused, and sometimes it seems that it's easier to do wrong than it is to do right. But anyway, so that is the question on the table tonight. Are we responsible as a society? We'll get back to this next week sometime, one of them days when I do this in the daytime, after the first. Are we responsible for the things that the crime that our young people do? I'm talking about 15 and below. I would have to say, yes, we are. Anyway, so but if y'all disagree with me, anytime I'm going to post this either on YouTube and Facebook, and you guys can put your you can put your comments there if you want to. I don't mind but I think you'll have a hard time convincing me that we are not responsible as a society, not as a parent sometimes, but as a society, you'll have a hard time convincing me that we hold no responsibility when young kids, little bitty children, get in trouble. Okay, end up in court and all those kinds of things. Okay. Oh, you can only see the beginning of the number. Well, it's 334-521-2963. If somebody, okay, I better put this the other way down. All right, I'll do it the other way next time. That's why I'm getting all this together now. So when we actually start this thing after the first of the year, I'm learning. I'm using two pieces of software here. Jason gets here. He uses what's called OBS. I use StreamYard, but I like OBS too, though, as long as I figure it out. Anyway, so this will be on the site. This will be on the site, and it'll be on YouTube. And so you guys just tell me what you think. But if we're honest, we have to agree that we as a society is more responsible for what the young kids are doing than they are. Anybody disagree? Of course you don't. You cannot disagree with reason and logic and common sense. Anyway, hey, thanks a lot. I gotta go watch Mission Impossible one more time. The old one. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, one with Greg Morris on it. So, folks, thank you for your time. I'm pretty sure we are going to generate many conversations about this, but hey, we'll check it out. Okay. Have a great night. I know it's Saturday, so you got to go out and party and stuff like that. Just remember, there's some young person looking at you. Be a good example. Okay? I'm serious. See you later.